it's important to know like when to draw the line of like understanding your scope of practice and saying like, okay, at some point you are going to have to refer out. So having connections with chiropractors, physios, like professionals in that space that are actually, that's their job, is to get people out of pain and to rehab injury and things like that. So understanding like where that line is really important. But there's a lot you can do, before that, before you get to the point where you have to refer somebody out. So it's important to learn these things. And the analogy that I always use with our trainers here when I'm talking about this is, you guys have heard me talk about the rocket launcher, shotgun, and the 22, right? Most trainers, especially when you're starting out, you don't really have a great grasp on biomechanics, on like movement patterns. Like you don't really understand a lot about that. And so trying to be very like detailed and prescriptive with the exercises you're using, it's probably not going to happen. Like you're not going to be very good at that. You don't understand or know enough about, how the body works to be able to be very targeted in your approach. And so that's where we start out with like the rocket launcher approach, where I don't know what the issue is, but I kind of know like if I just improve these areas, it's probably going to move us in the right direction, right? So somebody might have some sort of like weird knee pain when they squat. It's like, okay, well, maybe I don't know exactly what to fix that knee pain, but I can probably take an educated guess and say, well, if I improve hip mobility and ankle mobility and I get the legs stronger, we're probably going to be moving in the right direction. And so that's your shotgun, or that's your rocket launcher approach when you first get going. And then as you get a little bit more experience and as you start to understand a little bit more, then you can, move your way towards more of like a shotgun approach, is being a little bit more targeted. So maybe I can narrow it down to like, let's just really hone in on our hip mobility. And maybe that's what I decide is like the thing to help the knee. And then you continue to go further and further in your understanding. You learn more and more about biomechanics. And then we can get the 22, which is like, I can be very pinpoint, precise, very targeted, and say like, okay, maybe the reason their knee is hurting is because we need more hip internal rotation. And then I get very targeted. But you're not going to be able to just jump, right into that out the gates as a new trainer. And so you want to like kind of progress through this process. And that's how I like to view it, is rocket launcher, we're just going to kind of hit a little bit of everything and see what works. And then we'll move towards our shotgun approach and then our 22. And the other thing with that too is like, as you progress and move, further along this journey or get more expertise in this, it takes less effort, right? Like a 22 is way less powerful than a rocket launcher, but it's more targeted. And so that's the other thing that, that makes this so great, is that, it makes us very, we don't have to waste any time. It's very efficient. And so we can just, we know exactly the exercises that we need to implement to, help with the knee pain or the tightness or whatever it is that we're trying to help with.
Yeah. The good thing is that, like 90% of clients will probably get most of the way out of pain or improve their movement just from the rocket launcher approach. Like if you just split the body up, honestly, just into two different sections, like everything around the hips, and then like I would include knees in that as well. Ankles are like maybe a little bit less conjoined with those, and then everything that's around the upper body or like attached to the rib cage. Like if those are your two areas, you just improve everything around thoracic spine, scapula, shoulder capsule, neck, like everything there, it's probably going to reduce in pain. And then same thing like low back, hips, knees. If you just improve everything generally and spend, maybe 15, 20 minutes, because this is usually what it looks like for a client initially that's in pain. Like if they're coming in, they have bad movement patterns, the first 20 to 30 minutes of the sessions for the first month or two are probably going to be some sort of mobility, just warming up, but I'm still adding some sort of a resistance component to that. Just because you're doing like a 90-90 or like a thread the needle doesn't mean that you can't start to add load to that or progress it then to another exercise, because a thread the needle then can turn into like a cable chop. And then you're adding load to it, but you're still expressing the same range of motion. Same thing with like 90-90 to like an active pigeon. So you just start loading it up a little bit more. And then now like a same client that I've had for 3 months initially spent 30, 40 minutes even, because he was terribly, like just really bad movement patterns, lots of pain. And now he comes in and we do maybe 1 or 2 more targeted like mobility exercises depending on the exercise. And then we just jump straight into the strength training. So you just like, as long as you start with the rocket launcher approach, you're going to learn about the other 2, but also it's probably going to fix the problem anyways.
Mm-hmm. And then I think for your like general clients, right, who come in pretty good condition, like we've got some stiffness, something's going on, in your mind, have your go-tos. Like have the ones that you know are the most effective, pretty much full body mobility moves that you can do with someone where, hey, we're experiencing hip pain. I'm doing lizard with rotation, right? I'm hitting the knees, the hips, the ankles, like everything at once. That way you have your list, you know, like these things work, they're very effective, and you can be super efficient with your time too.
Yeah, it's all trial and error. You just like, oh, that hurts. Let's try this exercise and see if it gets you out of pain. Like that's how it starts is you just, you know, and starting with something like Prime or Prime Pro is like a reference of, you know, just to give you even just to give you a list of exercises, like mobility style exercises that you can start to, you know, pick from and use with clients. You'll start to find like best use cases for those. And it's just trial and error. You'll find that, oh, wow, when I do, you know, when I progress a 90-90 with my clients, they pretty much all seem to improve. Like that's kind of how you'll come to those go-tos that are your favorites. And then the point you're making, I think, is really important too, because I think we have the tendency sometimes to think like to categorize exercises as like, this is mobility, this is strength. And it's not. It's actually a spectrum. It's all the same. It's all strength training. It's just on a spectrum. So some people, especially if you have like, you know, chronic tightness or pain or something, like we probably just need to start you more on the spectrum of like the mobility stuff, right? If you have knee pain or hip issues or whatever it is, like, yeah, I'm gonna implement these, you know, exercises that are really far over here on the mobility side of things, like a 90-90 or a pigeon. So that way I can, you know, create some movement and some mobility in that area, and then we scale it up. And so learning to view this like this spectrum of we're going to start here, but then we're going to slowly scale you up, like as opposed to separate types of exercises. It's not mobility and strength training. It's mobility that works our way into strength training.